Hey guys, Verlis here, and apparently Mega Kangaskhan is banned? I certainly wasn't expecting that. That was rather sudden. Because, now that's Mega Gengar, Mega Blaziken, and now Mega Kangaskhan banned. Interesting move, Smogon. And with my outspokenness about how I'm on the fence in the not most positive way about Smogon, this is a rather strong surprise. Like, you know what? It's like, okay, I could see the Mega Blaziken ban. They already have Blaziken banned for no reason. Might as well ban him, because he's Mega now, he's stronger. Gengar. He does have a couple of cheap things about him, but he's still extremely frail. And that's kind of it. Like, he's strong, but again, you're taking him away. Okay. And now Mega Kangaskhan. I really kind of don't see why all those Pokemon should be banned. When you take away 3 Megas, you do 2 things. You take away the 3 strongest Megas, that means the new strongest is just going to be the most picked. And if it's all about like how often Pokemon's picked for bans, there's going to be something that emerges that's going to not act with the meta, so it's going to maybe cause another ban. I'm not saying that it will, but I'm saying if you take away the top 3 Megas, now all you're going to see is Mega Garchomp, Mega Tyranitar. That's about it, and more Mega Mawile. The problem was when they were doing, apparently this is the story behind it, when they were testing for Mega Gengar to see if he should be ban worthy, that Mega Kangaskhan appeared in 50% of its battles. Okay, an incredibly picked Pokemon. On top of Mega Gengar, who was in 50% of all battles pretty much. Okay, an incredibly picked Pokemon. But I mean, now that you take those away, who's going to be the new 50%? It's not like people are going to slowly... You're not giving the community a chance to adjust, is what I'm feeling. You know, the game has been out for 2 months. Everyone's still staying around the top 3, the 3 banned ones. Eventually those will fade out, and more Pokemon will become picked more often as counters and stuff are worked around. And it also... A lot of people just keep making this argument that it hurts the meta whenever there's something this strong. And I feel it's the other way around. By the more limits you impose, the more locked down you are. Okay, 3 Mega Evolutions are banned. There's not too many left to pick from now. You're only going to see the same Pokemon still. And if you're trying to ban out Pokemon to make it to where you don't see the same Pokemon, you're still going to have a hard time doing that unless you take out anything that could be remotely strong and leave a lot of borderline, not Smogon turn borderline, but I'm just talking about like the average Mega Evolution, because apparently Megas are too strong for Smogon to handle, so they're just banning them left and right. It's kind of one of those things I don't really understand. And it's the same with just everything in general. You impose restrictions, and people aren't going to try to build around the restrictions. Or, I mean, they're not going to try to build around the things not being restricted, so by restricting them, you're just letting people play the same. You know? If you wouldn't have to ban something if the community wasn't stuck in their ways. A lot of things are community pulls, so I mean... People are like, I don't want to have to run a Kangaskhan counter, so I'm going to get rid of him. When instead, it's better that you run a Kangaskhan counter, or you make it to where Kangaskhan starts getting faded out by not using him. 50% of people use Kangaskhan. That means if you build a team that specifically counters Kangaskhan and the Pokemon that are paired with it, you're going to win more than 50% of your battles, in theory. By banning Kangaskhan, now you're not really doing too much. Now, instead of being the guy that uses Kangaskhan and wins a lot of battles, you don't have a go-to win option, and now you don't have a go-to counter option. So, I mean, instead of letting the meta kind of flow, have Pokemon fade in and out, have things become more and less useful as teams just kind of work around the meta, and then they work to beat the meta. They work around the meta, they work to be the new meta. You don't let that happen. Or, what I mean is, like, Smogon doesn't let that happen. They go, this thing's taking over the meta, and instead of letting the game take its course, they just wipe it out. I think a couple things that people don't realize is Spore has counterplay. Evasion has counterplay, because it takes time to set it up. A lot of Pokemon that use Evasion well are slow and tanky, which means they're vulnerable to Taunt. Whenever I post a video saying if you use Stockpile into this combo, it's great, someone goes, no, there's Taunt. It's not that great. Same thing counts for Spore and Evasion. A lot of fast taunters that can take out a lot of Pokemon with Spore. Because there's only 3 chains, I think, that get Spore. And after that, there's Sleep Powder, which has low accuracy. Evasion. Only a few Pokemon get minimized, which is the most useful. If you have a double team Pokemon, you are extremely susceptible to just taking that first hit and maybe getting knocked out, or taking that second hit because your one evasion wasn't enough. So back to the Megas. I mean, I can see why they're strong. I've gotten beat by all these Pokemon. But sometimes you lose tragically. And sometimes you lose tragically quite a lot. And if it's to the same Pokemon, it's not that Pokemon's fault. It's your team's fault because that Pokemon counters you. The thing about those 3 Mega Evolutions, they have little counterplay. I will admit it. They have less counterplay than most because they just kind of run away with whatever they're doing. They still can be stopped. Give me a Pokemon that will win 99% of any battle, and I will call for a ban on it. You know, a Pokemon that isn't legendary, that every time you play it, you're going to knock out 3 or more of your opponent's Pokemon, guaranteed every time. That's ban-worthy. That's something that's brutally overpowered. For those of you guys that have played League of Legends, that's like release Udyr or Xin Zhao or pre-nerf Irelia. Even then, we have like a lot of things that they get balanced out by the way the meta flows. You know, if you watch, I like League of Legends because I play it. League of Legends, a champion won't get nerfed or buffed, and suddenly they'll rise because the meta has changed to where he excels in it. Let that happen in Pokemon. That's all I'm going to say. So hopefully this kind of gives a look on the Mega Kangaskhan bans as well as the other bans, and hopefully justifies what I have to say about Smogon not always having the best choices. So while my anti-Smogon video was rather harsh, it's the most passionate I feel about it, but with this is kind of the logical view of it. Like, you don't introduce more dynamicness to the meta by restricting what you can play. That's just what I have to say. So I hope you guys like this video, and as always, have a nice day.